What's up? It's your boy, the Canologist. We're doing another code study session, OSRS AFK training. I think we're officially at 60 smithing. So now there's 65 crafting, which shouldn't be too bad. And then there's 60 Slayer, 55 Runecraft, Fremennik Exiles. But I'm not going to do that now. I'm just going to focus on smithing purely because it takes the longest, and I may as well make some cash as well on the way, like while I'm doing work. Okay, so we did the servers chapter. Now we're on chapter 2, routing for learn HTTP servers. Stateful handlers. It's frequently useful to have a way to store and access state in our handlers. Keep track of the number of requests we received. We might want to keep track of the number of requests we've received. Open connection to a database. Here's the assignment. Product managers at Chirpy want to know how many requests are being made to serve our homepage. In essence, they want to know how many people are viewing the site. They've asked for simple HTTP endpoint so they can hit to get the number of requests that have been processed. It will return the count as plain text in the response body. For now, they just want the number of requests that have been processed since the last time the server was started. We don't need to worry about saving data between restarts. Create a struct in main Go that will hold any stateful in-memory data to keep track of. In our case, we will need to just keep track of the number of requests we received. Thinking. Okay, so let's go API config struct. So now I can delete this. Atomic int 32. Okay. Type. create the struct. That's file server hits, and apparently this is CFG. This points to that struct. Increments the file server count every time it's called. Every time it's called. So I just have to do a plus plus on it, which is what I believe is the correct way to handle it. Middleware metrics, increment, and then next HTTP handler. And I want to say file server hits. Its pure role is to point to this and run it. HTTP handler. Has an add method used to safely increment the number of file server hits. Okay. safely increment the file server hits. So we go, this is the pointer to API config. Then we go pointer dot file server hits to access it. Then dot add to increment it. HTTP handler. Wrap the HTTP file server. Oh, middleware metrics handler. Okay, so we just wrap this. So now it wraps. This is the middleware on this. So it wraps the function and then just counts the number of times this gets hit. Create a new handler that writes the number of requests that have been counted as plain text in this format. Hits. How do I write that to text? Write string? Okay, so it's gonna be text plain. I'm not 100% sure how to do this one. What does it mean by the new file handler? So handle hits X right. Yeah, so it would this just be multiplexed? No. Yeah, it would be custom handler. It would be the exact same thing, but what would the path be? And this is going to be text plain. And it's just going to write hits X. We're getting there. We're getting there. It takes time to formulate it, but I want to make sure I understand what I'm doing as well. Hits X, which is the server hits. So all I have to do is make a reference to API config here. API CFG. Maybe if this is an F string, I do this. Hits, and then all I have to do is put this here, %v. And then this is API CFG, because this is the function here. And then I just have to put dot file server hits, I believe. Still don't know what to put for the body. all I was tasked with was just writing what it could be. Plain text hits, and then get the server value. Technically this should be it, but let's confirm it here. Register the handler with the metrics path, where X is the number of hits. Yeah, see, file server hits. Okay, so that's correct. Register with the metrics path. Okay, so let's go to metrics. I was wondering, I'm like, okay, what do we put for the path? Do we just leave that blank? No. Make that the metrics path. Create and register a handler on the reset path. Okay, so basically we're just creating two handlers. That'll be a standard. Then all I have to do is this. When hit, will reset your file server hits back to 0. I'm just curious, honestly. A bunch of this is just trying stuff out, but this is how you create the handler function. It's always going to be the same signature, just a different path. Will need to be a method on the API config struct. So that I can also access, okay, so then it'll be handle func. And then do I just put this signature at the front every time? Or do I put it between this? I don't know what the right syntax is. Only one way to find out. Okay, so let's put this in boots to see if we got the right syntax. Well, let's run it first. I'm just curious to see how it will run. Yeah, unexpected name and levels. We expected that though. What is wrong with my code? Let's take a look at the spells. There's a few things I need a little tweaking for them to work just right. Okay. Okay, so this still does the same thing. So I was right initially to assume this. So this is all the same. Hits have been reset. I just do that. So that's all the same. And then instead of making it equal to 0, so right now, first let's start with this. File server hits dot store 0. Dot store 0. Oh, and then instead of mux handle, we just add these as methods to the main. So we just add these as methods to the main using this syntax. So we add it to this by going this. So one's going to be called handler metrics, that we point that to this. We point that to the structure. That's the equivalent of writing the name here. So we just do this, API CFG. And then we could save that. That should work. Okay, so we pretty much did it. Everything else is pretty much identical, except now we don't have the path name. Instead of the reset, where did those paths go? Metrics and reset handlers. You're on the right track to make these methods API config, but what you're doing is you can't mux handle directly on a method like that. Instead, define it, load and store. Reading from a value, use load. The other one you use store. So I did set and then load. File server hits load, store, the thing I'm confused now is where the metrics and reset goes. these paths need to be registered on your file mux. Oh, okay, there I see. So you go mux handle metrics, mux handle this. In your function main, handle app, mux handle, API config handler. Register your handlers in the serve mux. So once you create them, wherever there's mux, now we just have to register them. So like technically these are our registered handlers. We just put them all in the same place. We define the custom handler above and then register them to a path. Technically we could just write the whole thing like this, like I did originally, but this is the cleaner way. One is define the function and then just register. Technically I could even do the same thing here by going like function. I could just go health and then just go mux handle for it, but they just put it all in one. So we'll break that down in the next video. We try and save everything. Excellent. Your latest spell has a few structural issues. Definitions of the main. In Go, you can't define a struct type. Oh, would this be defined outside the main? Okay. Define the struct outside the main. API CFG function defined outside the main. Okay. So this is purely where we register handlers then. And then add one. That should fix that. Bracket. But yeah, we'll continue this in the next video. I don't know how much time I'm going to spend debugging this, but we'll see. We'll continue that in the next portion of Code Study Session OSRS AFK.